All right. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something. When I want to talk to you about being the channel, because I want to share something that my Miss Jackie shared with me on May 6th from her world now. So when I am the channel, every morning when you see my posts, I sit upstairs in my living room area. This is my office area. And I say, what is it that you want me to share with the world today, guys? And so I'm talking to my team. And then that's my invitation in, and I open up the flow. I open up the channel so that inspired writing pours through me and is available to you to benefit your lives. Everything that you see that is written is from me, is divinely guided. It's directly channeled through me. And I put it in ways that you can easily understand. The beautiful part about being the channel is I've been connected to spirit since I've been 8, but it wasn't until I was 18 years old that I began my journey of rediscovery and understanding who I was and where I really developed the channel. And then when I met my beautiful Miss Jackie, she was the one who taught me how to go direct. And so she was the one who assisted me in really understanding, and everybody else who sat in her class, and helped me to understand the importance of the spirit world, the importance of their guidance, the importance of how they're here to benefit us, how they're here to assist us, but also how they will never infringe upon our free will as they allow us to navigate this world as they help us to navigate ours from their world. So being the channel is just a natural part of my ability. Going direct, hearing spirit voice, hearing the purity of spirit messages is a blessing. It's a gift. I'm grateful for it, and I enjoy sharing it with everybody. So on May 6th, I was sitting upstairs and I had said, okay guys, what is it that you want me to share today? And I heard a beautiful, familiar voice. Don't mind me if I cry. I recognized the beautiful, familiar essence, and I knew who it was, and it was my beautiful Jackie, as I like to call her. And I said, surprised, because I wasn't expecting her to step forward, and she communicated 3 messages, direct channel to me so far. But I want to share this one here live because I want you to understand the depth of it. I want you to understand the essence of it, because if I was to put this in words without explaining and giving you the feeling and giving you the images that she gave to me, you might not truly understand what it is that she was sharing and the magnificence of it and the wonder of it. And it was very exciting information. So as I sat there, the first thing she said to me, and I'm going to read from my journal and I'm going to explain at the same time, okay? So she said, there are, things are so different here. They are more freeing. And the shift from one plane to the next is a breeze. So when she said this to me, she was showing how easily it was for her to come here and go there and go back and forth between 2 worlds. It was liberating. She had no restrictions. Her purity of spirit, her light was able to transcend time and space from one dimension into the next very easily as she makes her presence known. And so this is how our loved ones communicate with us. They come back and forth in a free flow, and they have no barriers. It's us, the human beings, that have the barriers, because we have our human mind, our human condition, the 3-dimensional world, the heaviness of our human body, our limiting viewpoints, the way that we think. All of these things get in the way when our loved ones easily step forward from the spirit world to say hello, to give us the sign that we're asking for, to communicate information to us. When we say, can you please, I would love to hear your voice, or I would love to know if you're around. They just pop down, give us the information, and then they pop back up. It's the thread of love that's connected to us for a lifetime. The love that never dies within our heart. It's the memories that live inside of us and keeps us connected to those who have crossed over into the spirit world for a lifetime lived. So she went on, right? And she said, believe not what they say. It is the channel and not spirit which has most difficulty communicating and connecting. Too many blame it on the spirit. And then she laughed and she chuckled, and Jackie had this beautiful laugh, and And I remember sitting across the table from her, and this was just like sitting across the table from her, listening to her, getting a reading from her. And she chuckled and she said, when in fact it is the channel which is cloudy. So there are a lot of budding mediums, there are a lot of mediums, there are a lot of people who say that they can communicate with the spirit world, and each of us are drawn to those readers, right? And so when she says it is the channel that's cloudy, that just says, as she showed me, that the medium isn't seasoned enough, the medium isn't open enough, or maybe somebody who thinks they are a true medium have not really found the way that their mediumship flows through them clearly and directly, okay? So it's not the spirit that has the problem communicating. It's the way that we receive the spirit. It's the way that we absorb the information. It's the way that we communicate the information to the sitters who come for a reading. So it's the human being where the cloudiness resides, not that they can't communicate with us. It's we're having the problem with clearing the filter so that their communications are clear. So when she said this to me, I said, you know, I love that, Jackie. I think that that's wonderful. So she goes on, right? And she says, it is true. Only those who wish to communicate will, yet they do receive the invitation. So she's saying, as many mediums have said, we're not in control of who shows up. Even when somebody comes for a reading and they say, I want to hear from this person or I want to hear from that person, the spirit that really needs to communicate with the human being that sits in the chair before the medium is the spirit that's going to show up first and foremost, because there are things that need to be settled. There are wounds that need to be healed. There's forgiveness that needs to be accessed. There's love that needs to be given. And so the spirit, who maybe you might have had a difficult time with in the living world, makes their presence known because they want to right a wrong. They want to, in essence, take an opportunity to clear some of the karma away, okay? So she goes on to say, now remember, she says, only those who wish to communicate will, yet they do receive the invitation. She goes on, she says, the bell rings many times throughout that which you call the day, but we are not governed by time here. So proud of you. All that you have need of is available to you, and more. It's the more that will surprise you. And so when she channeled this, it is the more that surprises me. So I want to go back to what she said. The bell rings many times throughout that which you call the day. So throughout the day when we're saying, I'll use my father-in-law, for instance, I've been talking to him a lot lately, and I'm like, oh, John, I wish I could hear your voice, or I wish I could just talk to you, or, you know, have a conversation. And then I've been saying this to him for it's been a while now, and probably about 3 days ago, I was in the car and I was saying it to him again, and my husband shows up out of nowhere, and he went into his voicemails and he retrieved a voicemail, and it was John's voice saying, hey, Larry, how you doing? Are you working today? And he went on and talked about the breakfast that they were going to experience together. It hit me really hard in my heart, as it does right now, because I could feel his love in that moment when I heard his voice. So that was his way of getting, you know, saying, I hear you, and giving me something to recognize that he has received the invitation from me, and making the opportunity to present the sign for me that he received my message. Now, when she says the bell rings many times in our world, as she was showing me the vision, I could see myself in the spirit world, and I could see all the souls up there, those who have transitioned from what we call this lifetime, from this world and into the next, as Jackie liked to say. So as I was watching the bells ring, I would watch the bells ring, and they would show me a symbolic hand and the tiniest little golden bell, and the chime was so gentle, so beautiful, so pure. I couldn't even duplicate it or give you an example to hear it. And so the bell would ring next to the soul. And as soon as the bell would ring, they would take on the form of their human life. The human life, the human being that was calling them, that recognized them. They would take that form on, and they would hear the bell ring. And in an instant, they would fly. They would go. They would transcend from the spirit world down into the living world, into the human world, into our world from their world. And there were some who heard the bell ring and they sent love to the person, yet they didn't take that moment, that invitation, to make an appearance, because she showed me that at times people who are in grief tend to use their loved ones as a crutch, and it keeps them from moving forward. So, and being as difficult as it is to lose somebody, because it still makes me cry knowing that I lost John. Oh, I don't want to talk about it because I know what grief feels like. But knowing that he's wise enough to know when he needs to make an appearance for me and when I need to figure things out on my own. But he sends me that continuity of love, that feeling of love, that awareness of I hear you, but I can't make my presence known at this time. It doesn't mean that I don't love you. It just means that I'm giving you the freedom to figure things out on your own right now, because it benefits you in this moment to figure those things out for yourself so that you can move forward in life. My husband's grandmother, her name was Florence, and we called her Gram. She lost a handful of grandchildren and both of her living children. And one day I sat in front of her and I said, Gram, I don't know how you do it. And she looked at me and she said, we need to stay strong for the living, and that's how I do it. And so she recognized the importance of having to rise above her grief to stay strong for those around her, because those around her may not have been strong enough to move their way through the grief. So I want to go back to Jackie here. And I'm going to read you the notes that I wrote below the vision. Again, I saw with ease in which the spirit moved, and those who have created a barrier when it comes to communication. So she showed me the way that the spirit comes in and out, ready to communicate, information flowing telepathically, spiritually, freely, yet as a human being, the medium, where the conflict of interest comes into play, because it's the medium who has put up the barrier or the restriction or the limitation in the way that they're receiving their information. Okay? And then when she, again, back to the bell, the tiny bell that rings each time someone is called upon by their loved ones in the spirit, to see that beautiful bell ring, to know that they hear your constant calls. They always hear you. They're always in acknowledgement of you, yet they understand and recognize the importance of what it means for you to live your own life and find your own strength and find your own way through it, because they know that one day you're going to have to be the example for somebody else. So that's the gift that they give us from the spirit world. Hi, Taylor. Hi, Kim. How are you? It's nice to see you. And I just wanted to share this with you. I hope that this video comes out okay. I can see on my computer it looks a little cloudy. It looks a little blurry, but on my iPhone it looks just fine. But if you have any questions or you want to ask me about this, please feel free to do so. It doesn't mean that your spirit people, your loved ones, aren't going to make an appearance, because they make a constant appearance through the love that they send us from heaven, through the love that they send us from the spirit world. Yet during a reading, when you sit for a reading, she also says this. This was also came through, and I want to share this with you as well. She says, as the reading went on, we meet with our family and friends here when we cross over, but we do not necessarily spend all of our time with them after that. So she says, you meet the people that have crossed before you. They become your welcoming committee. But as you move throughout the spirit world, you don't live your life with them like you did here. You each live separate. I don't know if I want to call them lives, but you live separate existence within this spirit realm. Because remember, your souls are on different levels. She goes on to say, we are your welcoming committee, and for the sake of a reading, we will acknowledge and even show up with them. But that is for you and not for ourselves. So she says, even though in the spirit world, we're not communing with them like we live with them as we live with our families here. She says, but for the sake of a reading, for the healing of those who are grieving, for the understanding of the soul that resides in another plane. They'll show up with your family members, standing side by side, making their presence known, but they do that for you. They don't do that for themselves. They do that for the love of you and to give you an understanding that yes, they are all together, but in a sense, they don't necessarily live and commune together in the spirit world like we do here. I thought that was amazing to me. I thought, wow, that's really liberating. And she says, as she completes her reading with me, it will be complicated for some to understand, but we are all in perfect health and perfect order now. And so when she shared this with me, I was really inspired to share it with you, because when the soul transitions into the spirit world, we go back to pure essence. And so when we're pure essence, we have many lifetimes to draw from. And so if you really think about that past life connection, if we have many lifetimes to draw from, why would we go into the spirit world and just remain and be singular in the lifetime that we live now? So with that being said, I just wanted to share this beautiful information with you. I thought, how amazing. And not that your loved one isn't in connection with maybe your mother or your father or your grandmother or your grandfather or your sister or your brother who may be in heaven before we have made it to heaven. They're in a constant flow. They're in the same place, but they don't necessarily spend all of their time with one another as we live here on earth. So I hope that brings you some sense of understanding, and I hope that brings you a sense of peace, and I hope it brings you a sense of excitement, knowing the freedom of the soul once it sheds this human body, the ability to go from one world to the next with ease, right? Yet understanding that it is not them who have the problem communicating. It is the medium who has the difficulty in clearing the filter during a session or during a reading. So when a medium says, oh, they're not communicating clearly, it's not the spirit world, it's the medium. So I would encourage those mediums who may be having a difficult time there to sit and become a little more seasoned. Understand that your job as the medium is to become a detached observer of somebody else's life and communicate the story of a life once lived. When you put your emotions in it and you try to attach yourself personally to it, you cloud up the filter, you clog it up, it has to be taken out, it has to be cleaned, and then you have to begin again. So if you do have a problem connecting, or you think that the spirit's having a problem connecting, I want you to return to yourself and see where you're attaching yourself to the outcome of the reading. Because as a medium, it's not our job to attach ourselves to the outcome of the reading. We give the reading because we're giving guidance to the soul that sits before us. We give the reading to give them an understanding of information that benefits them, their greatest good and highest joy as they move forward in life. We give the reading because it is our purpose. It is our destined path as we sit at the table and we become that vessel of information. And before I let you go, if you look over my shoulder here and you see that beautiful painting on the wall, that beautiful image, my Jackie drew that for me. She drew that, I want to say it was the last 5 years of her life. And she said during a circle that she was going to draw a spirit guide for each person, each one that sat within her circle for many years. And I happened to be a beneficiary of one of those beautiful spirit drawings. So as I sit at my table, I always have a reminder of the teacher that came before me, because she became the mirrored reflection of who I was on the inside and allowed me to discover how I was supposed to blossom and grow into my own mediumship so that I can move forward and teach others how to do the same. I hope you guys enjoyed this information. It was a lot of fun doing this live. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will be sure to answer them as they come in. I know it's early, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't want to keep you too long. And I really hope that you know When you say your loved one's name, a tiny, beautiful golden bell rings right next to them in heaven. And even in that moment, in that instance, if they don't make their presence known, just close your eyes, because they send a thread of love to you. It's a beam of light, and you'll feel that love. They'll say, I got the message. But recognize that there are things that we need to do for ourselves here so that we can move forward in life, and that we can come in to our own power and recognize our own internal strength, and that they're our support system. That's what they are. They support us, but they're not a crutch to lean upon. So grief becomes that crutch. So if you can recognize when you're in the throes of grief and you don't want to let it go, what's holding you there? What keeps you there? Is it that last tangible moment with that person who lived? Is it that last hello? Is it that last, I didn't get to say goodbye? Is it that last, I wish I had said I was sorry? You can make those pathways to healing with those in the spirit world from this plane. But I always encourage people, make your peace while somebody's alive, because it's easier for you to move forward from this point. So God bless you all, and I will see you at my next live. Have a great day, everyone.